Asim? Asim? You're able to hear me?
Am I audible now?
No. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Start again.
There's no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living, said Nelson Mandela. Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Avenir 2021, a global virtual career guidance program launched by Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir under the aegis of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools Noman. On behalf of Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir, I, Asan Fatima of Class 10 and Aman Iqbal of Class 9 from ISWK take the proud privilege of expressing our profound gratitude to His Majesty Haitham bin Tariq Al Said for his noble benevolence. May the Almighty shower His choicest blessings on His Majesty, and may this nation experience peace and everlasting prosperity.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome the Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, Dr. Shivakumar Manik. We wholeheartedly welcome dignitaries from the Ministry of Education and officials from the Indian Embassy. A cordial and courteous welcome to all the members of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. A hearty welcome to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, the President of ISWK Management Committee, and other members of the School Management Committee of Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir. A warm welcome to principals, vice principals, and the entire teaching fraternity across the globe. I'm extremely delighted to welcome students from all over the world, parents, invitees, and all our well-wishers. Thank you one and all for your gracious presence here this evening.
It is with sheer joy and great pride that I take the task of introducing our guest speaker today. He's a man of virtue and simplicity, a living inspiration to the youth. With great honor and pride, I now introduce you to the man who is also an alumnus of ISWK, for whom sky was the limit, and hence rightfully he is the master of the skies. A pilot, a first officer with Air Asia. Prior to that, he was with Jet Airways. It has been 5 years in the industry, having flown Boeing 737 and Airbus 320 aircraft. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Mikhail DMELLO. The platform is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Asin, and thank you, Aman, for that amazing introduction. I hope that you can see me and you can hear me clearly. Hello, Asin, and hello, Aman. Thank you for the amazing introduction. I hope that you can see me and hear me clearly.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, first of all, thank you for that amazing introduction. Good evening to one and all. I'm here as part of Avni 2021, and it brings me immense joy and pleasure to be here as part of Avni. Firstly, I'd like to thank the principal, the vice principal, the staff, the faculty, the organizers and the sponsors for making such an amazing event happen. An event that is so important and so vital for young budding students in their high school with their whole future and lives ahead. This is the perfect platform to get professional advice from expertise across different fields. So thank you for making this happen, and also a big thank you for reaching out to me and for this invitation. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation on the screen. Please bear with me. Okay, I have my presentation loading at the moment. If someone could please confirm when it's loaded on the screen. Thanks. Okay, are you able to see my presentation now?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, and is my webcam on at the same time?
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Okay, perfect. So the title I've chosen for today is Soar Higher, Dream Bigger, and Work Harder. And this is a presentation on career guidance, motivation, and aviation. As briefed to you before the presentation, my name is MR.MIKHAIL DMELLO, and I am an airline pilot. Just a little bit about myself before we get started. I joined ISWK in the first grade in 1995, and I left after completion of my 8th grade in 2003, after which I returned back to my hometown, Hyderabad. With about 5 or 6 years in the aviation industry, I spent 4 years with Jet Airways flying the Boeing 737 and 2 years with AirAsia on the Airbus 320 after closure of Jet Airways in 2019. Academically, I have done a degree in BSc, and the subjects I specialized in are mathematics, electronics, and computer science. I also do have an interest in music. At the age of 5, just when I had joined ISWK, I started learning the piano at a very young age. And then I decided to learn a second instrument at the age of 9. So I picked up the clarinet. The clarinet is very similar to a saxophone. It's a woodwind instrument which you blow through. So those are the two instruments I have picked up over the years, and I've done different various examinations and also taken part in different competitions as well. Before we get started, these are the key topics in my presentation for today. I'm just going to run you through each of them, and then we can go into detail once the slides progress. Know yourself better, plan early. Be curious, research always comes in handy. Be goal-oriented, dealing with failure, carrying yourself in public, and grooming basics. Then moving on towards the end of my presentation, I'm going to run you through a bit of my journey as a pilot, how to become a pilot, career progression, and also the pros and challenges that you might face in this aviation industry. Okay, so before we get started, I'm looking for a very interactive and a very fun session. So as the session goes on, do keep your doubts ready and handy. I'm willing to answer as many questions as possible in the Q&A session at the end. So more doubts, more queries is something that I'm definitely looking forward to. I also want to know a little bit about your experiences as well, time permitting, past and present, and what are your plans for the future as well. Please do go ahead and share. I would be more than happy to listen to that as well. And like I said in the beginning of this presentation, Avenue 2021 is an amazing platform for young budding students like yourself to gain from and to lay the path, the foundation to amazing careers ahead. So let's all gain from this amazing platform. Okay, so the first topic of my slide for today is know yourself better, plan early. Now, one of the first things that you need to do while you go through the years, while you're going through your childhood, is to ask yourself a lot of questions and introspect at a very young age. You need to know yourself inside out. Of course, your parents, your family members, your relatives will all know you to a very great extent, but it is only you that knows yourself the full 100%. And the only way you can do that is to ask yourself a lot of questions about yourself, because only that way can you know what you want to do in the future. By asking yourself a lot of questions, you get to know your interests, what you like, what you dislike, what interests you, what fascinates you. So you get to know loads of answers about yourself, which are very critical to your future. It's important to know what you want, both short-term and long-term. Short-term plans and long-term plans are equally important towards contributing to your future. And eventually, you need to do what you love the most. That is the golden rule when it comes to choosing a career. You have to choose a career that you love so much that you always look forward to the next day, the next week, the next month, and the next many years of your career. Life shouldn't be a drag. You shouldn't get out of bed, not prepared for what comes for the rest of the day. You should love what you do from the very bottom of your heart. Once you have decided what your plans are, you need to be very vocal about them. And the first people that you can be vocal about with your plans are the ones nearest to you, your parents, your teachers, your relatives, because they are your support system. They will be able to guide you and nurture you and provide you with the backing that you need to make your career possible and successful towards the end. Also know that there are unlimited options and career plans out there. I noticed through the years that a lot of people tend to go into wanting to be doctors and engineers, and those are amazing professions, don't get me wrong, but there are plenty and plenty of other options out there. You should not be scared or hesitate to take the path that was less chosen. If that is what you want to do, and that is what you love, then there should be zero hesitation from your side. Go ahead and do it. Alternative backup plans. It's very important to have a backup plan because as harsh as it may sound, sometimes the things that we plan in life don't go as planned. There are a lot of hurdles along the way, and sometimes we may not succeed with the plans that we have in mind. So if that does happen, unfortunately, you should not come to a dead end. You should not have a roadblock. You should have something to fall back on. So have a plan B, not just a plan B, have a plan C and a plan D as well. The more backup plans you have, the better the position that you put yourself into. Moving on to my next slide. Be curious, research always comes in handy. Now, when you plan a path for yourself, when you plan a career, that is only the first step. Now, you need to do a lot of research to know what lies ahead and what can be done to get you there. Collect all the possible information to plan ahead. As you probably know, the internet plays a vital part in today's world, and also there's social media. While I know we use the internet and social media for recreational purposes, for music, to socialize, to talk with friends, all that is okay. But from a young age, you have to use these sources to your benefit and get all the information you need towards the career that you have in mind. The more information you have handy, the better prepared you will be for what is the next stage that lies ahead. Using social media like Facebook and Instagram, you can also connect with veterans and experts in the field, because these are the people who have already been there, done that. So you are getting firsthand professional advice from people who have been in your profession for many, many years. And there is no better source of information than connecting to veterans and professionals in a particular field. Be well informed with domestic and global events. Now, everything that happens in the world may impact the career that you want to get into some way or the other. For me, for example, the 2008 recession had a big impact on my life because that was the time I went to do my CPL, my commercial pilot training in the United States. And by the time I came back to India in 2009, there were no pilot jobs in the Indian market for a good 6 to 7 years. So that impacted my life. But I moved on to different things. I went back to college. I got a BSc degree, like I said. I even worked with Amazon for a couple of years in the corporate industry. So that did not deter me. It had an effect on my plans, but I found a different path in life to move ahead. Know about the potential challenges that lie ahead. Now, this kind of correlates with my previous point because there will always be challenges, no matter what career you choose. It might be financial hurdles. It might be lots of competition in the field. The economy might affect it. So there can be n number of challenges in the profession that you choose. So it's always good to be well informed and be prepared for any challenges that might arise so that as and when it does happen, you are well prepared to cope with it. Okay, so the next topic in my slide is be goal-oriented. Stay true to the choices you make. Now, once you choose a career choice for yourself, stick to it and work to it. It's not a very good idea to make n number of career choices because then it's kind of like jack of all, master of none. If for some reason you are not convinced that you have a good future in that line, or you might not be successful, it's okay to make one or two changes at best, but avoid frequent, constant changes with career choices. Once you make a career choice, stick to it. There will be hurdles along the way, but you have to push through. Okay, so set yourself targets and work towards them every day. You have to have targets both for the short term and the long term. Me personally, when I went for my CPL, I knew already in my mind by when I wanted to have my license in hand, when did I want to apply for the airlines. And even now, my next target is to work towards becoming an airline captain. So there should always be targets that lie ahead of you. Set yourself targets and work towards them every single day. You may or may not achieve those targets, and that's completely okay. But it's always good to have some plan in mind and work towards it. Be hungry for success and to achieve bigger things in life. You always need to be hungry for success. Once you stop being hungry is when your success kind of tails down and you kind of stagnate in life. No matter how good you achieve in life, you need to be hungry for more things, because there are n number of progressions that you can make in your life. So never settle for less and never settle for where you are currently in life. Always strive for more. Make your family proud. All your achievements are going to make everyone proud, your teachers, your parents, your relatives. But at the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself, because this is all about you. And eventually, when the curtains come down on your career and it's time to retire, you can turn to yourself and say, yes, I did a good job. I gave it my 100% and I did everything that I could. So do it for yourself. It's very important. And needless to say, discipline is the key. Discipline is the key to anything. If you are disciplined in life and you are focused, you will definitely make it someday. Dealing with failure. Failure is bound to happen. There are so many successful people in different industries, musicians, actors, dancers. No matter how successful they are, believe me, each and every one of them have failed at some point of time in their lives. It is completely normal and it is completely human to fail. It's going to happen. Yeah. So we learn more through our failures than through success, because now every time you fail, you learn something from that experience. You know where you faltered last time. You know what you need to work on. You know where you need to improve, and you can use that experience and help towards succeeding in the very next attempt. So you learn a lot through your failures. Always keep that in mind. There's a very famous Rocky Balboa movie, which I'm sure most of you have seen. And it's this one dialogue that really inspires me. It's not how hard we hit. It's about how hard we get hit and keep moving forward. How many hits we can take and keep moving forward. That is what life is all about. Every time you fail and every time you go through an experience like that, you're going to be sad, you're going to be demotivated and upset. That is perfectly normal. So do find comfort with your family members, your friends, and your loved ones, and pick yourself back up as soon as possible. Take it in your stride and try again. As you already know, try, and try until you succeed. Just a bit about my failures, by the way. The first one I already mentioned in 2008 was a very difficult scene with the recession. I didn't get a job for a good 5.5 years, even after having my license in hand. And then my first flight school, by the way, closed down due to bankruptcy. So that was a big blow for me during my training phase. As you probably know, in 2019, Jet Airways closed down. So I loved working for Jet Airways. It was an amazing airline to work for. And when it shut down, it was a very emotional moment in my life. I felt very sad, very demotivated. But within 1 week, I found myself a job with AirAsia, and I learned to move forward. So that's how life is, and you have to move forward. The next topic is carrying yourself in public. Okay, so when someone sees you for the first time, you needn't even speak or open your mouth. It's just the first impression, the visual impression that comprises of your first impression. And that happens within a matter of seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds. And this picture is already painted in the other person's mind as to what kind of person you are. So the first impression happens very fast. Words may or may not be spoken, but it mostly happens visually. Now, the first impression, you have to remember, it lasts for a very long time. So no matter how many good things you do later on with that person, if your first impression is not good, it's not going to be good. So that is very key. When you meet someone for the first time, have a very good first impression. Now, what are some of the things we can do to have a first good impression? Your posture, your body language, facial expression, eye contact are everything. You need to have a positive, upright posture, good body language, your facial expression. Believe it or not, the face muscles have so many, the face has so many muscles inside of them. Just the movement of very minor muscles can determine whether you are happy, sad, excited, depressed. So your facial expression says everything. Eye contact. Too much is not good and too little is not good. You need to have about 85 to 90% of eye contact. If you have too much of eye contact, if you have too much of eye contact, it looks like you're kind of staring into someone. And if you have too little of eye contact, it appears like you're very anxious and very nervous. So have the right amount of eye contact and you will pull off a very good first impression. Positive energy, positive vibes, and a good mood sets the tone. You need to come across as happy, excited. If you go for a job interview, you need to look and come across like you are happy to be there and you are looking forward to being there. Those are very important details. A good mood, you need to come across as a jovial person, a happy person, someone who is good to work with. Those are very important things. I'm sorry, my slide doesn't seem to be getting back up to full size, but I'll still continue. How you greet someone and shake hands. Now, you need to greet someone positively, whether it's a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Greet them positively, make them feel welcome, and have a good, sturdy handshake. So greet someone positively and create a very good first impression. Your speech rate is also a very key indicator. If you speak too fast, then you start to stumble and stutter and make a lot of mistakes while speaking. So set a good speech rate that you are comfortable with. It's okay to be on the slower side, but set something that you are comfortable with. Tone of your voice is very important. You need to modulate your voice. Too loud is okay, and then you need to soften down a bit, like you're trying to explain something to someone. Have a very good modulation of your voice. Too loud all the time is not good, and too soft all the time is not good. It has to be a constant modulation, which makes you look confident. So yeah, tone of your voice, speech rate are something which indicates your confidence or lack thereof. Know what you want to say before you say it. It's very important. You need to know at least 10 to 15 seconds in advance as to what you want to say before you say it, because that way you're less likely to make mistakes and you're less likely to fumble. It's the same as flying an aircraft as well. We as pilots, we train to know what the aircraft is going to do about 15 to 20 seconds ahead than to just fly in the moment. So if you're going to just go with the flow and speak whatever comes to your mind, sometimes you might not make a lot of sense, or sometimes you might falter and stutter. So know what you want to say before you say it. Moving on to my next slide. It's good. Looks like the slides are back up to normal size now. Grooming basics. Grooming starts with very good hygiene. Okay, you need to look good, smell good, have good breath. You need to have good hairstyle, not messy hair. And for men, if you have a beard, make sure it's trimmed and nicely presentable. Skincare is very important. You know, creams and lotions. Also drink a lot of water, and nails as well. Now, some of you might be wondering, why am I going into something that's so intimate and so private? But these are the basic things that will pull off a very good impression. Even me working for an airline, once a year, we have a grooming session for all the employees, and very basic, simple, intimate yet private things like this are discussed so that we turn out well-groomed to work. Effective usage of health and hygiene products, things like toothpaste, mouthwash, a soap which can keep you smelling good for the rest of the day. Also, shaving cream, etc. Has to be effective use of health and hygiene products. Proper application of makeup for women. Now, I'm no expert with this, but there are plenty of videos on YouTube, and there are makeup artists on Facebook and Instagram who put up amazing videos on proper application of makeup. So there's plenty to learn from over there for young women who are watching this. Be selective with your clothing. It's good to have a good fitting outfit wherever you go. Too loose or too tight is never good. Have a tailor that you go to constantly, someone who does a good job of your clothing. And color combinations are very important. Sometimes two colors do not go well together, so it's very good to have a good color combination. Now, the occasion, every occasion will have a certain style that you dress. It could be a funeral, it could be a job interview, it could be a birthday party, it could be a social gathering or an event, anything of that kind. For every occasion, you have to dress aptly for that particular occasion. Very good. It's very important to have iron clothes and polished shoes all the time. And at the end, be professional. You have to put your best foot forward at all points of time. Okay, so moving on now, my journey as a pilot, briefly. I think the slides have become a little bit small again, but I think we'll manage. So I joined flight school in 2007 after completing my 12th class. It's important to note that if you want to be a pilot, you have to have maths and physics in your 12th class. There's no other go. If for some reason you do different topics in your 12th, then you can always do maths and physics through open university or open school. But it's important to have maths and physics listed in your 12th. The flight schools I attended were American School of Aviation, which, like I said, closed down due to bankruptcy. And thanks to my family and my aunts, my grandma for backing me financially and allowing me to join my second flight school, AHART Aviation in California. Now, your training as a pilot is initially going to start on aircrafts like the Cessna 152, Cessna 172, and Piper Seneca. These are the aircrafts that I flew at the age of 17 and 18 when I started my training. And they're not very big. They're just about the size of a car, maybe a little bit bigger than a car. But that is where you start the very basics of your flying. Approximately 280 hours is what I did in California for my basic CPL. And that's when I got my US license in 2009 and returned to India when the recession was in full effect. Early struggles. So yeah, the recession came in. I came back to India. I started working on my DGCA exams. For those of you who may not know, DGCA is the aviation authority here in India. So if you need to convert your US license to Indian license, you need to do a whole lot of exams, written exams, which I cleared and eventually got my Indian license in 2011. By that time, there were a lot of unemployed pilots in the market. I think 3,000, maybe more than 3,000 unemployed CPL holders across the country. So that's how bad the situation was. In fact, when I applied for Jet Airways in 2011 and I gave my written exam, I remember I went to Chennai and I saw like 1,500 applicants all writing this exam to get a job. And there were very few vacancies. So obviously in my mind, I was very nervous, very scared, am I going to get through? Am I going to pass this exam? Are they going to select me? But I told myself, you've prepared well enough, you worked hard enough, you know what has to be done. And luckily for me, I gave the exam and I managed to clear among so many applicants. Yeah, so at the same time, I used this opportunity while I was not flying to expand on my academics, because in a world like today, 12th class is just not good enough. So I got a degree in BSc and I did electronics, maths and computer science at St. Mary's College in Hyderabad between 2010 to 2013. And even after that, the aviation market had not opened up completely, and I was still struggling to get a flying job. So through the campus placements in college, I joined Amazon for a couple of years in Hyderabad. So I got a bit of the corporate life as well. And with Amazon, I was in customer service as well as transaction risk department from 2013 till 2015. The picture over there, by the way, is my team in Amazon. For those who can't see me, I am fourth from the right. So that was the wonderful set of people that I worked with while I was with Amazon. Okay, looks like the slides are back up to full size again. Eventual breakthrough was with Jet Airways towards the end of 2015. So that is when I got my first flying job. My license, which I got in 2011, I just kept it handy for 5 years. It was a long, torturous wait, which eventually came to an end when Jet Airways gave me my contract. By the way, my selection with Jet Airways lasted 5 years, believe it or not. 5 rounds were held over 5 years. So that was 1 round every year. So the first round, which started in 2011, ended the 5th round in 2015. So that goes to show how low the requirement was for pilots at that point of time. So yeah, that was my job in Jet Airways. I was first officer on the Boeing 737, which was an amazing aircraft to fly. I miss flying the Boeing 737. I started off 2 years based in Bombay, in Mumbai, because that was the main hub for Jet Airways. And then eventually, you know, in Bombay being a major hub, you get a lot of exposure because you get to fly international. You go to all these amazing exotic places. I went to Singapore, Bangkok, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and I got to stay over each time for a day or two. So that was the exposure I got in Mumbai. And eventually, after 2 years, I wanted to come back home and spend time with family in Hyderabad. So I applied for a base transfer and spent out the last 2 years in Hyderabad. The entire time I spent with Jet, I built up about 2,000 hours on the Boeing 737. And yeah, as you probably have watched the news, Jet Airways collapsed in April of 2019. It was a very sad end because there is no airline like Jet Airways. It was a class apart, treated their passengers extremely well, a full service airline. And being an employee, there was nothing more I could ask for working with Jet Airways. So I had a good 4.5 years with Jet. But then I had to move on. I mean, I couldn't stagnate in my career. I had to move on to other things. So I moved on to a different airline and a different aircraft. I wanted to try the Airbus 320 because it's so prevalent in the Indian market. There are more airlines in India that use the Airbus 320 than the 737. So I thought, you know, why not give it a chance? And AirAsia was the first airline that came forward and gave me a contract, and I was more than happy to join. So when one door closes, one door opens. If something kind of comes to a standstill in your life, there's always another door that opens. Do not, be too bogged down by a setback like that. So now I'm a senior first officer on the Airbus 320, currently based in New Delhi. So that's where I reside right now. Every now and then I'll take a flight to spend time with my family in Hyderabad. As of now, I've built up approximately 1,000 hours on the Airbus 320, and I have a total of 3,300 hours in total. What is my personal target? I want to be an airline captain. Things have become a little bit difficult now because of COVID. So airlines are not promoting. There is no training happening for first officers to become a captain. So I'm just enjoying my flights now as a first officer, and as and when an opportunity arises, I will definitely work towards being a captain. So that is my next goal in life. How to become a pilot, for those of you who are interested. Like I said, you need to do maths and physics in your 12th. Firstly, you need to plan early because getting into the aviation industry is a very expensive and costly business. Flying training requires a lot of money mostly because of instructor charges, plane rentals, and also fuel costs. So you have to keep your family in the loop from a very young age that this is what I want to do. I want to be an airline pilot, so they can plan financially. Choose a good flight school. There are many flight schools all over various countries, but some of the countries that people go to the most are US, Canada, Australia, India, and New Zealand. You need to undergo frequent medical checks to ensure that you are certified fit to fly. So once you attend flight school, by the end, you would have completed about 200 to 250 hours, and that's when you get your CPA license in hand. What are the stages of your flight training? You'll initially do a first solo, which means you will take off and land all by yourself without an instructor in the aircraft. Then you will get a private pilot license, which allows you to carry passengers on your aircraft without compensation or hire. You will then earn an instrument rating, which allows you to fly into clouds and bad weather. So now when you fly into clouds and bad weather, there's not a lot of visual cues and reference. So you need to fly purely based on the instruments in the cockpit. So that is what instrument flying is all about. Eventually, you will get your commercial pilot license in hand, which allows you to carry passengers with compensation. And for those of you who are interested, you can even get yourself an instructor rating, which means you now become a flight instructor and you can teach different students. And eventually, you need to clear a lot of written exams as well, theoretical exams like navigation, meteorology, regulations, and aircraft technical. So it's a bit of practical and theory at the same time. Career progression. So once you have your license in hand, be well prepared for every airline opportunity that comes up. There are a variety of topics to study upon, to be prepared upon, like I mentioned in my previous slide. So the more technically sound you are with your topics, the better prepared you will be when a job opportunity eventually comes up. What are the positions that you're going to progress through? Initially, you will be a trainee first officer, and then you will be a first officer, senior first officer, captain, line training captain. A line training captain is someone who does training on flights for people who are training to become first officers. Then you're going to become a simulator instructor. A flight simulator is where pilots go every 6 months to practice the worst case scenarios, engine failures, emergencies, any emergency that might come up. So eventually you become a simulator instructor and a designated examiner who takes the checks of the pilots. You can also work yourself from smaller aircraft like the Boeing 737 and the 320 towards the Boeing 777 and the 380. And you can also work yourself from domestic airlines inside India to international airlines outside India, like Emirates, Qatar Airways. Those are the best places to be for a pilot because you're going to fly a lot of international destinations and get a lot of good exposure over there. Moving towards the end of my presentation for today, and I hope I haven't taken up a lot of time. The pros and cons of being a pilot. You get the best views from the cockpit. The sunsets, the sunrises are amazing. The nighttime is the best. I love to fly in the night. And then you get to fly state-of-the-art machinery. These aircraft that you fly, be it the Boeing or the Airbus, are so technologically advanced. There's no better feeling than a good takeoff and a good landing being in the cockpit. Interacting with the more experienced pilots and expanding your horizons. Now, when you fly as a first officer, you're going to fly with different captains every day, people who have a lot more experience than you. And even on a normal line flight, they're going to teach you so much that you gain from it. So with every flight, you learn something new and you become a more proficient pilot with every flight that happens. You get to visit new places on layovers. You get to experience different cultures. For those of you who don't know, layovers are when you do a flight to a different country, you stay there for a day or two. So you get to see these amazing places and these amazing cultures. Being in a uniform that sets you apart from the rest. This is one of the reasons I honestly wanted to become a pilot. I just love the uniform. As a small boy walking through the airports and the terminals, I would just sit and stare at the pilots that walk by because there's such class and such distinction about that uniform. Every time I wear it to work, I just look at myself in the mirror and I feel so proud and so happy. And like most of you might know, it's good compensation, good money, and the airline provides you with a lot of benefits as well, travel benefits and medical benefits. Challenges faced, the cons of being a pilot. There's no fixed timing. You can do a flight one day early morning, the next day you're flying in the night, the next day you're flying in the evening. So there's no fixed schedule. You will find yourself waking up and sleeping at all the odd hours of the day. You're going to miss out on important events because flights happen every day. There is no holiday in aviation. You're going to fly on Saturdays and Sundays. You're going to fly on festivals, birthdays, anniversaries, gatherings, weekends you may or may not get. So you're going to miss out on a certain social aspect of your life. There are constant checks and exams along the way. The studying and the learning never stops. There is always a new update. There's always something new to study about. And you will have about 2 to 3 checks every annual year to check that you are proficient with your flying. Being medically fit and a loss of license. So every year you will have a medical exam as well. And they're going to test various parts of your body to check if you are not unfit to fly. And, God forbid, if something does go wrong with your medical checks, then you lose your license and you may get temporarily grounded or permanently. So that is something that you might want to keep in mind. There's also an uncertain future in the case of economic slowdown or airline closure, as was in my case, both during the recession in 2008 as well as the airline closure in 2019. But I still managed to make it through both of those events. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a very expensive field to get into. Flight school and airline training is very costly, so it requires early financial planning. So yeah, that concludes my presentation for today. I'd just like to run you through a very quick summary. Plan early and start early. Execution is key. It's one thing to plan, but you need to be very good with your execution as well, because that is what is eventually going to make your dreams come true. Your family, your friends, relatives, teachers, veterans, they are your major support system. No matter how wrong things go in your life, these will be the people that will back you and push you forward. So use them. They are there for you. They love you and they care about you. Make the most. Never stop believing in yourself. Hard work is the key to success. Keep pushing on despite setbacks. Setbacks are going to happen. No matter how disciplined you are, how hardworking you are, how relentless you are, you're going to face a setback. So take it in your stride, believe in yourself, and keep moving forward. Be well-groomed and confident, because that's what people like to see. It creates a very good impression. And you can never go wrong by choosing to be a pilot. I know many of you here might be interested in different fields. But those of you who want to become a pilot, you can never go wrong with becoming a pilot. It is a great choice, and it is a very rewarding profession. And lastly, I hope that my presentation could have some impact on your futures, on your lives. And if that was the case, then nothing would make me more happy. So on that note, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm so happy to be here as a former student of ISWK. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was an extraordinary and inspiring session by Mr. MIKHAIL DMELLO. Now, we would like to request our most honored speaker, Mr. MIKHAIL DMELLO, to kindly answer a few questions put forth by the audience. May I request the teacher moderator, Mr. Soni, to put forth the questions posed by the audience.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. MIKHAIL DMELLO and ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice listening to you, an alumnus of ISWK. We are truly honored, Mr. MIKHAIL.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor for me too.
Yeah, thank you. And with the paucity of time, I think we'll just take up a couple of questions. One is, does being a pilot give you a lot of pressure or stress?
Absolutely. I mean, there is every job or profession in this world comes along with pressure and stress. But that's what drives you eventually. You should turn it into something positive and, and use that towards moving forward with your profession. So there are a lot of stressful situations at work, keeping the flights on time, If the flight is delayed, you try and expedite by some way or the other to make sure that the flight is on time. So there are a lot of pressures and stresses at work, but the important thing is to deal with it positively. Being a professional, that's part of the job. And you have to use that pressure and stress in a good way to bring out the best in you. That is very, very important.
Yeah, thank you, Mikhail. The next question is, what is the approximate cost of flying course with cost for the same in the US? The approximate cost for both the course and the living.
Sure, I can give that to you in rupees. Maybe we can relate to that a little bit more than US dollars. So as of now, it's around 25 lakhs to 30 lakhs, including the living expenses and the accommodation. That's only for your CPL training in the US or wherever you go, for a matter of fact. But after you come back to India, you have to have further training on the Boeing or the Airbus before you join an airline. Or that training is even provided by the airlines as well, but you have to pay for it. So that is another 30 to 35 lakhs. So combined, the cost should be probably about 65 to 70, maybe 75 lakhs on the higher side eventually.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mikhail, for that answer. And another query is there a height requirement when I apply for the CPL?
Yes, so you have to be approximately a minimum of 153 to about 155 centimeters. There is no fixed number, but what you can do is every time there's a vacancy on any of the airline website, be it AirAsia or Indigo or SpiceJet, you will find the height requirement mentioned in their careers on the website. So do take a look every time a vacancy does come out. But just to give you a ballpark figure, it should be about 153 to 155 on the minimum side. On the higher side, as far as I know, there is no restriction.
Oh yeah, well, thank you. And maybe last two questions. What preparations would you advise the young students to help them get into aviation programs?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in my presentation, you need to plan financially very early because it's a very expensive field to get into. You can't just reach the age of 17 and say, okay, now I want to be a pilot and be prepared financially. It doesn't work that way. Planning to become a pilot takes many years of financial planning and loans. So you need to plan early. The next thing you need to do is, like I said, you have to take maths and physics in your 12th class. That is compulsory, especially in India. And then once you've done that, you need to undergo what is called a class 2 medical test to certify you fit to fly. If there's any defects that you have in your body, it's not as advisable to go ahead with your pilot training because you would have wasted a lot of money. So make sure that you are medically fit to fly even before you start your training. And then, yeah, choose a good flight school, contact students from that particular flight school for a good feedback. And my last advice is just have a blast because it's an amazing profession. Enjoy every moment of it. These are amazing aircraft to fly and you get the best views in the office. So just have a blast. And these are memories that you can keep with you for a lifetime.
Okay, thank you. That was truly an enlightening answer, Mr. Mikhail. And perhaps the last question will take up the paucity of time. Which are the best colleges in the country offering aviation courses? And what about the placements on completion of the course?
The best that I know of is the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy. That's the one that everyone speaks about. There are quite a few other flight schools I know of in Hyderabad, like RGAA and Flytech, which are also good. But like I said, I did not do my CPL here in India. I did it in the US. So I have more of an opinion about training in the US as compared to India. As far as career opportunities after CPL, it's a very uncertain thing. If you get your CPL at a good time where the market is blooming and the economy is doing good, then your waiting period is likely to be very less. But in my case, when the recession happened in 2008, I ended up waiting for a job for almost 5 years, more than 5 years. So the aviation industry is like a sine wave. It's full of ups and downs. So it's just a matter of luck and timing. If your timing is bad, then take it into your stride, but don't give up on your dream because you spent a lot of money on it.
Okay, thank you so much. It was nice talking to you, Mr. Mikhail. And I think we'll wind up our question and answer sessions here. Thank you so much
And just
once
on
again.
a small note, I'd like to say that I had the most amazing time being a student of ISWK for 8 years. Unfortunately, when I left in 2003, I've never had a chance to visit ISWK again. But
You're
just
most
being
welcome.
a part of, being a part of this AVNI 2021 brings me back mentally and psychologically to ISWK. And I just want to thank the principal, the vice principal, and all the staff for making this possible today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for all your support and guidance given to the large audience by attending their concerns so patiently during the course of the discussion.
As we draw to an end of this enriching session, let me first express my profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq for the magnanimous benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora and the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower abundant blessings on His Majesty and His country. We extend heartfelt thanks to our eminent speaker, Mr. MIKHAIL DMELLO, for his words of motivation. Thank you, sir. Our deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Shivakumar Manikan, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman, and other honorary members of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. A heartfelt thanks to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, the President, Indian School Management Committee, and other members of the Management Committee, our Principal Mr. D.N. Rao, principals of other Indian schools for their profound encouragement at all times.
Our sincere gratitude goes to our platinum sponsor, StudyCo, gold sponsors, Chain Group of Institutions, Grey Matter Academics, Vellore Institute of Technology, Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education. Bronze sponsors, Middle East College Oman, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Dallas Baptist University, MIT World Peace University, Pune. Media sponsor, The Arabian Stories, digital marketing partner, Spectrum, for their support in making this mega event a tangible reality. I wish to thank each and every student and parent for their valuable presence in making this session a grand success. An event of this kind requires the coordination of a committed team. Thank you to the ISWK team for making Avenir 2021 possible. Thank you and have a great day ahead.